I'm going to show you how to create a new application. First, you need to go to an application that was already created. This is the one called Hold'em. To create a new application, you have to go to Program, and over here there is a box that says Create a New Application. Going to click on that box. All of a sudden, there's only one instruction now in the main program, and it's called Exit. And down here you see that there's only a main program, there's no subprograms. However, right now I'm going to go to this box and create a new subprogram. Now it built a subprogram. The only instruction in it is a home instruction which says go back to the main program. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to the main program and I'm going to tell it to call the first subprogram. Well, that means I have to add an instruction. So I click on this line for a new instruction line. Then I look at my options here, and here's the one, call. Call wants to know what number to call. I'm going to tell it to call number 1, which is the first subprogram. I enter that. Here's my line, call 1. I want to put that above the yellow line. There it is. Now when the program starts, it's going to call subprogram 1. When it goes home from subprogram 1, it will exit. So now we'll go to subprogram 1. The only thing it has in there now is home. So again, if we run it, it's going to go there and go right back again. So that doesn't do anything. So we're going to now say we're going to add an instruction line to our subprogram. And I first want to build a rectangle. So I find over here in this line, fill a rectangle. So I'm going to put that instruction in subprogram 1. But when I went there, it says I need T for how tall it will be, W for how wide, and an X and Y position. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm first going to put that above the yellow highlighted line. There it is. And now I'm going to set the control registers for tall, wide, X, and Y. Well, I need a new instruction line. First I'll set, and now these are the control registers highlighted in green. So I find the T1, there it is. T is for tall, and I can go right here to the numeric value and say I want it to be 100. Enter it. And I want to put that above the rectangle fill. All the parameters, these control registers, must be before the rectangle is created. So now we have the tall one. Now we're going to add another instruction. It's going to also be a set instruction. Going to go right here and tell it that it's for how wide it is, which is the W control register, and I go right to the value, and I'm going to say it's 300 wide. And I want to put that now below the T. So now I set T and W. Going to have another instruction. Now it's going to be set this time for X. My X value, which I'm also going to say is 100. And put that below the W. Go add another instruction. Going to also be a set instruction. I need to set my Y value. I'm going to set my Y value to 100. Enter it. Put it below. Alright, so now I have the parameters necessary to draw a rectangle. So let's see what it looks like. Well, there it is. But oh, it's yellow. I wanted it to be red. Well, so the active color right now is yellow. But I'm going to go back to my program. Here I'm still in subprogram 1, and I'm going to say add another line for me. And down here is CLR, which stands for color. I'm going to click on color. Then I'm going to go right to the number value again, and I'm going to say 600. 6 in the red, no green, no blue. I'm going to enter that in the line and put that line below the Y. There it is. Now I have T, W, X, Y, and a color. Now I'll execute it. Ah, there I have my red rectangle. That's what I wanted. Now I'm going to go and make an oval. Go back to my program, and below where it made the rectangle, I'm going to want to do an oval. So I'm going to put this over there, and then I'm going to say add a line. And over here I look for oval fill. There it is. Now while I'm looking at it, I see it also needs T for tall, W for wide. Oh, and its center is at XY. Oh, the rectangle of the upper left-hand corner was XY, but that's okay. Let's see what we can do with this. Okay, so we want to put it below the placement line. Below. We know it needs all of these things that the rectangle needed. Well, we can make a green box by clicking the left end of this line and the right end of the last line that we want. And we have to copy them below the yellow line. I'm going to put the yellow line placed up here so that after my rectangle fill, I'm going to have these lines. So I'm going to copy those lines below the yellow line. Oh, there they went. So now I have a T for tall, W for wide, and an X and Y for my oval. Well, I don't want my oval to be the same color as my rectangle, so I'm not going to copy that exactly right now. So I'm going to copy over here under the position where it says to update a line. I copy that. I go right to the number, and I'm going to make it 606. So it's not going to be the same color. Enter that. And now I want to replace that line. So I click replace. So now my program has a rectangle and it also has an oval. I want to see what it looks like. Oh, my oval's not inside of the rectangle. Remember, the XY for the rectangle was here, but for ovals, that's the center, not the upper left hand, because there is no upper left hand of an oval thing. So what I need to do is be able to change these and see what's happening. So I'm going to go to my program. The first one that I might change is this one. So I'm going to put my placement, highlighted yellow, on that line. I'm going to go back to the program. And now I'm going to use this feature called RT, which stands for real time. Meaning I want to make changes while the program is running. So I click on RT. It shows me the instructions starting at the yellow highlighted line and says, well, now I can change them. Well, I want this oval centered in my rectangle. Well, I know my X value is too low. I'm going to change it to 200. Oh, it's still not far enough. I'll change it to 250. Ah, that looks like the right place. Well, now I want to lower it down. Well, that would be Y. Let's say I lowered it 50. Oh, that's great. So now I have my oval in the center, but I'm saying, well, I didn't want it to hit all the way to the top and bottom. So I think I want to change how tall it is. First, I'll take the 100 away because that's too tall. When I made it 0, look, it disappeared. I'll make it 80. Alright, that's a fair nice size. But now I'd like it to fill end to end. Well, that's the width. So I'll go to the width here and say, well, 300 wasn't long enough. I'll say, how about 330? Well, I could go more than that. 340. More than that. 350. Oh, still more. 360. I'll go even more. 370. Alright, I'll stay there. Now I've centered my oval inside of my rectangle. And how did I do it? I used the real time function. Now you're going to find out that these changes that we made here have actually changed the program. So if I go back to the program, what you're going to see is here are the new values that we changed it to. We did not have to update these lines. We could use RT. Well, the next thing I want to do is enter some text. Well, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to highlight the oval, fill, because I want my text to come after that. And then I'm going to say I want to add an instruction. And over here I find the one called text. So I'm going to click on text. And then I'm going to say I want 6 letters. 6. Enter the 6. Then it wants to know where the data is going to come from that I want to put in the text. So I click here and I say it's going to be in page A. Now here is page A through page K. All of those pages are saved with the program. That means they'll be available every time the program is run. So I'm going to click on page A. Page A comes up. There's no text in it because we just started. We click where we want the text to go, and I'm going to say my app. Now when I end here, I have to have the cursor sitting at where my text starts. Right now it's after it ended. So I'm going to click where it starts, and then I'm going to say OK. Now it says I'm going to show text 6 letters starting in page A, offset 0, which is the beginning of page A. But now that when I look for text, it says it also wants to know the value of X and Y. Oh, to know where the baseline of the letters is. Oh, so it needs to know an X and a Y. Well, I know I can copy lines, and I have X's and Y's. So I'm going to click here, because copy lines go below there. But right now highlighted in green also highlights tall and wide. But that's not how letters work. Letters work with font. So what I got to do now is I'll click here. I want the X, and I click over here. I want the Y. I want to copy those green lines. Oh, I never saved my page. I'm sorry. I got to save my page below the oval line. So hold on. Below there is my text. I highlight the oval line because below there is where I want to put my X and my Y. So okay, copy the green lines below the yellow line. Now I have an X and Y position. Again, I'm just going to leave them stay at 100. But I realize I need a font. So I'm going to highlight this line, say I need a new line, and that line is going to be for font. Now the font line says if I want it bold, I have to start it at 400. So I'm going to click on where the number goes. I'm going to say 4. And then I want a big font, so I'm going to say 430, which means it's going to be 30 size higher. So I'm going to enter that, and I'm going to put that font below my Y over there. Now I also realize that, say, the text has to have a color. And right now, the color that comes here is going to end up being the same as the color up here, which was purple. So I put purple text on a purple oval, you're not going to be able to read it. So I think what I'll do is I'll say I want a new line, I want color, and it comes up with a 0, and well, 0 is black. No red, no green, no blue. So I'm going to put that below the yellow highlighted line. Okay, so X and Y, a font and a color, are ready for my text. Well, let me execute it and see what it looks like. Oh, well, that makes sense. The X and Y is up here, and so that's the baseline for the letters. Well, but I want it down here in the purple oval. So now what I got to do, I go back to program. I know the first line I might want to change is the X value there. I'll go back to execute it, and I'll go to my real time. Real time. Now I notice that, well, the X value I need to increase. So I'm going to make it like 150, 160, 170. And that's getting close. And my Y value, well, I got to move it down. Let's see, I'll move it down 50. I'll move it down 60. Move it down 70. But now I'm going to stop because I'm going to change the size of my font. So it might start filling up the oval nicely once I change the size of it. So I made it 430. Well, what if I made it 440 or 450? Whoop, I think 450 is going to end up being too big. But let me reduce my X. I moved my X too far. So I'll go 60, go 50. Oh, my font's too big. So I'm going to go back to my font. I like big fonts, so I'm going to make it 445. Ah, that's starting to fit in there nicely. So what I'll do now is I gotta still move it back to the left. So my X is a little too high. So what do you say I make that 45? Alright, that looks pretty good. So now I put text in there also. So here we now have, well, I'm going to shut RT off and go back to our program. This is in subprogram 1, and that will be it for now.